Today, we will discuss DC profiles. In this episode, we will go over the 60-page paperwork of the Simple City Backdoor. If you are not familiar with the Simple City Backdoor, it is the passing of Simple City member Fat Stuns and a man named D-Lo Finessing. Allegedly, Fat Stuns carried D-Lo Finessing and took his chain. That's when D-Lo would get a gun from one of Day Men Hip and crush Fat Stuns. After this, all the Simp members would turn their guns on D-Lo, who is from Maryland, I believe, and they would crush him. In this paperwork, we will go over the arrest, camera footage, and more. And one of the suspects in this backdoor is the main suspect in the killing of 37th member Drip. He was allegedly the one who stopped that whip when Drip tried to spin, and after that, he would adopt the name Stop Dat. Let's get into the paperwork now. The United States of America, by and through its attorney, the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, respectfully submits this memorandum in support of its oral motion that I, defendants Desmond Evans, Ramel Henderson, Kevon Jackson, Delonte Mundere, and Malik Terrell be detained pursuant to 18 U.S.C. Section $3142 F1A and 3142 F1E, and that Turkai defendant Melvin Green be detained pursuant to 18 U.S.C. Section 3142 F1E. The government requests that the following points and authorities, as well as any other facts, arguments, and authorities presented at the detention hearing, be considered in the court's determination regarding pretrial detention. The investigation of the charged offenses has revealed that the co-defendants charged in counts 1, 2, and 3, Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Mundere, and Terrell, together with additional subjects, actively committed an armed carjacking and kidnapping of two unsuspecting victims, Victim 1 and Victim 2, collectively the victims, on June 9, 2023, in an apparent attempt to steal clothing, money, Victim L's vehicle, or other items. In addition, after Green observed the co-defendants and additional subjects committing these offenses, he approached Mundere and took Mundere's firearm from him before Mundere departed the scene in Victim 1's vehicle, with both victims and other co-defendants inside. According to surveillance footage of the offenses, multiple subjects possessed firearms, brandished firearms, or acted in a manner consistent with being armed, including at least Evans and Mundere, and Green after taking Mundere's firearm, among the charged co-defendants. The subjects stripped the victims of clothing, forced them into Victim L's vehicle, and then fled the scene in Victim 1's vehicle and a second vehicle. The investigation has revealed that in the hours after the instant offenses, multiple co-defendants engaged in a burglary, an armed home invasion of two residences associated with Victim 1. Victim 1 was subsequently found deceased, having been shot to death approximately 3 hours later in a parking lot outside of his residence in Maryland. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Victim 2 was found alive approximately 5 hours later in southeast Washington, D.C., not far from where the offenses began. Victim 2 was found naked, but for one sock, having been pistol whipped and stripped by the defendants. Notably, co-defendants Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, and a fourth subject who participated in these offenses, Juvenile 1, have each been charged by indictment in the Circuit Court for Charles County, Maryland, with 21 counts including murder first degree and associated charges for the homicide of Victim 1 during the home invasion at his residence. The identity of the co-defendants is not seriously in dispute. The investigation has revealed significant evidence identifying the co-defendants and Juvenile 1 as subjects who committed the charged offenses. Moreover, the co-defendants are all closely associated with Marquise Jackson, the twin brother of co-defendant Marquette Jackson, currently at large, who suffered a gunshot wound during the armed robbery of Victim L's residence and was dropped off at a local hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Indeed, co-defendants Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, and Juvenile 1 are all visible on surveillance video outside of the hospital emergency room, dropping off Marquise Jackson from Victim L's vehicle approximately 10 minutes after fleeing the scene at Victim 1's residence. The co-defendants' very serious and dangerous criminal conduct not only poses a danger to the safety of the community, but also demonstrates clear disregard for the rule of law. The charged offenses carry significant potential penalties for the defendants. If Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, and Terrell are convicted of count 1 or 2, they face a sentencing guidelines range of at least 121 months to 151 months of imprisonment and a statutory maximum of life imprisonment. If Green is convicted of count 4, he faces a sentencing guidelines range of at least 63 to 78 months of imprisonment and a statutory maximum of 15 years of imprisonment, both before accounting for aggravating specific offense characteristics and criminal history. Therefore, the co-defendants face penalties in this case that are far greater than any previous term of imprisonment they have served to date. For the reasons set forth below, the government submits that defendants Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, Terrell, and Green should all be held without bond pending trial to ensure the safety of the community and his appearance at future court proceedings for this case. On August 25, 2023, 6 co-defendants, Desmond Evans, Ramel Henderson, Kevin Jackson, Delonta Munderay, Marquette Jackson, and Malik Terrell, were charged with count 1, kidnapping and aiding and abetting, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1201, A1, and 2 for the kidnapping of Victim 1. Count 2, kidnapping and aiding and abetting, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1201, A1, and 2 for the kidnapping of Victim 2. And count 3, carjacking and aiding and abetting, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2119, 1 and 2 for the carjacking of a black Mercedes SUV used by Victim 1. In addition, a 7th co-defendant, Melvin Green, was charged with count 4, accessory after the fact, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 3, for assisting co-defendant Munderay in relation to counts 1, 2, and 3. An initial appearance was held for co-defendants Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, Terrell, and Green on August 31, 2023, at which the government moved to detain Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, and Terrell pending trial pursuant to 18 U.S.C. $3142 F1A and 3142 FF1E, and to detain Green pending trial pursuant to 18 U.S.C. $3142 F1E. The government respectfully submits that Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, Terrell, and Green are a danger to the community and a flight risk. The government must establish by clear and convincing evidence that a defendant is a danger to the community. United States v. Peralta, 849, 2D 625, 626, D.C. Sir 1988. The government must establish by preponderance of the evidence that a defendant poses a risk of flight. United States v. Vortis, 785 F2D 327, 328, 29, D.C. Sir 1986. The government may proceed by way of proffer at a detention hearing. United States v. Smith, 79 F3D 1208, 1209 to 10, D.C. Sir 1996. Section 3142 G provides that the court should consider and weigh the following 4 factors in determining whether to detain a defendant pending trial. 1. The nature and circumstances of the offense charged, including whether the offense is a crime of violence or involves a firearm. 2. The weight of the evidence against the defendant. 3. The history and characteristics of the defendant, including but not limited to criminal history, and whether, at the time of the current offense or arrest, the defendant was on release pending trial for an offense under federal, state, or local law. And 4. The nature and seriousness of the danger to any person or the community that would be posed by the defendant's release. 18 U.S.C. Section 3142 G. In consideration of the facts and circumstances of this case, the government respectfully submits that there is no condition or combination of conditions that would assure the safety of the community and the co-defendant's appearance at future proceedings. Therefore, the co-defendants should be detained pending trial in this case pursuant to 18 U.S.C. Section 3142 E1. The current charges against Desmond Evans, Ramel Henderson, Kevon Jackson, Delonta Munderay, Marquette Jackson, and Malik Terrell relate to their armed kidnapping of Victim 1 and Victim 2 for multiple hours on June 9, 2023, in and around Washington, D.C. and Maryland, during which the co-defendants threatened the victims with firearms, took Victim 1's vehicle, clothing, and other belongings from the victims, and proceeded to commit a burglary and armed home invasion of 2 residences associated with Victim 1 in Maryland. Therefore, the nature and circumstances of the charged offenses in this case strongly support pretrial detention for all co-defendants. On June 9, 2023, at approximately 3:43 a.m., approximately 11 subjects to include Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, DeLaunt Munderay, Marquette Jackson, Malik Terrell, and other known and unknown uncharged subjects, including Marquise Jackson, deceased, and Juvenile 1, participated in an armed robbery, carjacking, and kidnapping of 2 victims, Victim 1 and Victim 2, on the 4400 block of F Street SE, Washington, D.C. The investigation has revealed that multiple subjects who participated in the incident socialized with Victim 1 and Victim 2 prior to the offenses in and around the vicinity of the 4400 block of F Street SE and the St. Eve Club in Washington, D.C. Immediately following the kidnapping, Green participated as an accessory after the fact to the kidnapping and carjacking by transporting a firearm possessed by Munderay away from the kidnapping and carjacking scene. Green had also been with the other 10 subjects and both victims in the 4400 block of F Street SE and the St. Eve prior to the offenses. Subsequently, multiple subjects fled the scene with Victim 1 and Victim 2 in a Mercedes SUV that had been used by Victim 1, while additional subjects fled in a white Nissan Altima. The subjects who fled the scene in the 2 vehicles included Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, Munderay, Marquette Jackson, Terrell, and known and unknown uncharged subjects, including Marquise Jackson and Juvenile 1. At approximately 5:45 a.m., the Charles County Sheriff's Office, CCSO, responded to a reported shooting located at Victim L's apartment complex in Waldorf, Maryland, where they discovered Victim 1 deceased with multiple gunshot wounds in an apartment complex parking lot. CCSO recovered a firearm that was located under Victim L's body in his right hand, which was determined to be a Glock 30 Gen 4.45 caliber firearm bearing serial no BTSV 688. While on scene, Victim 3 reported being a victim of an armed burglary and robbery committed by multiple subjects inside their apartment, and further that Victim 1 was their boyfriend. Law enforcement's investigation of these incidents and the homicide of Victim 1 has revealed additional information regarding the subjects and the offenses as described herein. Beginning at approximately 3:43 a.m., 11 subjects including Evans, Henderson, K. Jackson, DeLaunt Munderay, Marquette Jackson, Malik Terrell, and other known and unknown uncharged subjects, including Marquise Jackson, deceased, and Juvenile 1, are visible on surveillance footage committing an armed robbery, carjacking, and kidnapping of Victim 1 and Victim 2 on the 4400 block of F Street SE, Washington, D.C. The surveillance footage reveals that multiple subjects, including at least 4 subjects who displayed the characteristics of an armed person, at least 2 of whom carried firearms, confronted Victim 1 and Victim 2 at the Mercedes SUV that Victim 1 was driving. A struggle between Victim 1 and the subjects ensued while the subjects attempted to kidnap Victim 1, remove his clothing, and force him into the rear passenger area of the Mercedes SUV. Victim 2 was forced to strip at gunpoint and forced into the rear tailgate area of the Mercedes SUV. In addition to the Mercedes SUV, the subjects used a white Nissan Altima to flee the scene in the 4400 block of F Street SE, and subsequently to assist in committing a burglary in Suitland, Maryland, and to aid in their getaway after torching the Mercedes SUV in Capitol Heights, Maryland, as described below. At approximately 4:39 a.m., the Mercedes SUV and the white Nissan Altima are visible on surveillance footage entering an apartment complex in Suitland, Maryland. The surveillance footage reveals that at least 5 of the subjects exit those vehicles and move toward an apartment that was burglarized, which the investigation has determined was associated with Victim 1. Surveillance footage reveals that Evans and Juvenile 1 demonstrate the characteristics of an armed person during the carjacking and kidnapping, each of whom appear to draw a firearm from their waistband area and brandish a firearm during the incident. An unidentified subject appears to draw and point a firearm at victim 2 during the incident. In addition, Mundere appears to be armed with a firearm during the incident, which Mundere subsequently transfers to Green before fleeing in victim 1's vehicle with other subjects and the victims. At approximately 5:39 a.m., the Mercedes SUV is visible on surveillance footage parking in front of victim L's apartment building in Waldorf, Maryland. The surveillance footage reveals that at least 4 of the subjects exit the Mercedes SUV at various times to aid in an armed robbery of victim 1's apartment, during which victim 3 was robbed at gunpoint while victim 1 was being held by the subjects in the Mercedes SUV outside. At approximately 5:43 a.m., surveillance footage shows at least 3 of the subjects engaging in a shootout with victim 1, in which victim 1 and Marquise Jackson were struck. Both ultimately were pronounced deceased after the shootout. At 6:01 a.m., the Mercedes SUV is visible on surveillance video arriving at Southern Maryland Hospital in Clinton, Maryland. Evans, Henderson, Jackson, and Juvenile 1 pull a subject identified as Marquise Jackson from the front passenger seat of the Mercedes SUV and leave him with an attendant at the hospital. Marquise Jackson was subsequently pronounced deceased at Southern Maryland Hospital. At 6:45 a.m., the white Nissan Altima is visible on surveillance footage at the intersection of Kayak Avenue and Emo Street, Capitol Heights, Maryland. This video is just prior to the arrival of first responders at 819 Kayak Street, Capitol Heights, Maryland, where the Mercedes SUV was located on fire. At approximately 8:02 a.m., MPD responded to the area of 4517 C Street, SE, Washington, D.C. Upon arrival, MPD officers made contact with victim 2, who was naked except for one sock. Victim 2 reported that they were robbed of their shoes and clothing, but was able to escape. Officers observed multiple lacerations across victim 2's body as well as blood on their face. Victim 2 would later tell police that their captors violently pistol whipped both he and victim 1. Victim 2 also reported that their captors demanded addresses from victim 1. During the course of the investigation, law enforcement has obtained surveillance video from multiple locations where the co-defendants and other subjects are visible both before and during the offenses. This includes surveillance video from St. Eve, a club located at 1220 Connecticut Avenue, NW, Washington, D.C., Benning Terrace, a neighborhood in southeast Washington, D.C. that includes the 4400 block of F Street, SC, an apartment complex in Suitland, Maryland, an apartment complex in Waldorf, Maryland, Southern Maryland Hospital in Clinton, Maryland, and in the vicinity of Kayak Avenue and Emo Street, Capitol Heights, Maryland. Law enforcement obtained video footage of a party that preceded the offenses, in which victim 1, victim 2, and number of the subjects can be seen. DC Housing Authority surveillance video captured a large gathering of people on June 8, 2023, in the 4400 block of F Street, SC, Washington, D.C. While viewing the video, law enforcement was able to identify several of the subjects who perpetrated the offenses. Additionally, law enforcement was able to observe victim 1 and victim 2. The footage showed the victims arriving in the 4400 block of F Street, SE at approximately 11:33 p.m. in a black Mercedes SUV. At approximately 11:44 p.m., a large group of people, including the victims, departed from the area in multiple vehicles. Surveillance video from St. Eve showed the victims and co-defendants enter St. Eve at approximately 12:09 a.m. on June 9, 2023. The St. Eve nightclub is approximately 8 miles from the 4400 block of F Street, SE. At approximately 1:56 a.m., the group of people, including the victims and multiple subjects, began to exit St. Eve. The group entered multiple vehicles and departed the area at approximately 1:59 a.m. on June 9, 2023, at approximately 2:21 a.m. DC Housing Authority surveillance video captured the victims and multiple subjects returning to the 4400 block of F Street, SE, Washington, D.C. Specifically, the surveillance video footage shows the following. At approximately 2:33 a.m., Henderson, Munderay, and Marquette Jackson approach the rear of the black Mercedes SUV that victim 1 was driving that night and begin to search the Mercedes SUV via the passenger side rear door. Shortly thereafter, Marquise Jackson joins the group as Henderson continues to search the Mercedes SUV. Marquette Jackson leaves the group to talk with other people from the party. As Henderson is searching the Mercedes SUV, Munderay and Marquise Jackson stand at the rear of the Mercedes SUV and appear to act as lookouts for Henderson. At some point, it appears that Henderson gains access to the Mercedes SUV. Munderay and Marquise Jackson assist Henderson at the passenger side rear door. As Munderay becomes visible at the rear of the Mercedes SUV, it appears that he has obtained a black backpack that he was wearing on his back. Marquette Jackson rejoins Munderay and Marquise Jackson at the rear of the Mercedes SUV. Shortly thereafter, Henderson is visible inside the Mercedes SUV, leaning from the rear passenger seats to the driver's seat and front passenger seat, utilizing a flashlight to search those areas. At approximately 2:36 a.m., Munderay, Henderson, Marquise Jackson, and Marquette Jackson leave the Mercedes SUV. The surveillance video shows that Munderay was still wearing the black backpack, and Henderson was now carrying a black bag. The group, now including Munderay, Henderson, Evans, Marquise Jackson, Marquette Jackson, and others, walked into the football field area located on the Benning Terrace property. While the group is out of view, it appears that flashlights can be observed going on and off as if the bags are being searched. At approximately 2:49 a.m., the group reappeared at the fence opening of the refuse area. Henderson is visible, wearing a black backpack and approaching the rear corner of 4431 F Street SE, where he obtains keys from another person. At approximately 2:50 a.m., Munderay is observed tucking a black L-shaped object that appears to be a firearm into his front waistband. Simultaneously, Henderson is observed accessing a gray sedan parked on the 4400 block of F Street SE and placing the black backpack that he was wearing inside the vehicle. Henderson then appears to return the keys for the vehicle to the person that he received them from. At approximately 3:43 a.m., 11 subjects are visible on the surveillance video committing an armed robbery, carjacking, and kidnapping of Victim 1 and Victim 2 as the victims approach the black Mercedes SUV in the vicinity of the 4400 block of F Street SE, Washington, D.C. Below is a still image of the D.C. Housing Authority surveillance video shortly before the kidnapping. Victim 1 and Victim 2 are identified by the yellow circles, and the initial subjects are identified by the red circles. The Mercedes SUV used by Victim 1 is located on the left of the image. Victim 1 was in the driver's seat. The white Nissan Altima is located on the right of the image. The following is an approximate timing of events for each subject during the incident. 1. Desmond Evans. Evans is depicted below in a still image of surveillance footage outside of St. Eve in the security line on June 9, 2023, at approximately 12 hours 15 minutes and 39 seconds a.m., shortly before the offenses were committed. Evans is a black male wearing a gray hoodie with a black zipper, blue and white jeans, and black and white shoes. Evans can be seen on surveillance footage wearing these same clothes throughout his involvement in the offenses. In addition, below is a still image of Evans taken from surveillance footage at the 4400 block of F Street SE, Washington, D.C. on June 9, 2023, at approximately 2 hours 22 minutes and 55 seconds a.m. The following summarizes Evans' whereabouts and actions during the offenses on the 4400 block of F Street SE. 3 hours 43 minutes and 31 seconds. Evans is visible on 4431 F Street camera. 3 hours 43 minutes and 49 seconds. Evans approaches the Mercedes SUV and can be seen exchanging goodbyes with Victim 2 3 hours 43 minutes and 51 seconds. Evans then approaches Victim 1, who is seated in the driver's seat of the Mercedes SUV. 3 hours 43 minutes and 52 seconds. Evans's right arm then jerks backwards, and then he lunges into the driver's doorway towards victim 1. Evans's actions are indicative of an armed individual. Evans can then be seen opening the driver's side door completely, creating space for NW to enter, as victim 1 is still seated in the driver's seat. 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 23 seconds. Evans then crouches down at the front driver's side door of the Mercedes SUV to pick up a shoe, S, from the ground below the driver's door. 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 26 seconds. Evans then walks to front of the Mercedes SUV, holding a shoe, S, and possibly gives something to Mundere. 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 37 seconds. Evans then walks back to the inside of the front driver's side doorway of the Mercedes SUV, where victim 1 is still seated. 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 56 seconds. Evans then crouches in front of the group of subjects and appears to be pulling victim 1 backwards, appearing to be pulling something from victim L's person. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 6 seconds. Evans again appears to attempt a second time to rip something away from victim 1. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 10 seconds. Evans then rips the pants away from victim 1's person, stripping victim 1 of his clothing. Evans then begins to search pockets of victim L's pants. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 27 seconds. Evans drops victim 1's pants and stands behind the group of subjects and helps push victim 1 into the driver's side rear seat of the Mercedes SUV. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 43 seconds. Evans then walks to passenger side rear door of the Mercedes SUV. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 56 seconds. Evans can then be seen walking to rear of the Mercedes SUV, while other subjects push victim 2 into the Mercedes SUV's open tailgate trunk area. 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 59 seconds. Evans then walks to the passenger side rear door of the Mercedes SUV. 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 14 seconds. As Evans walks to rear of Mercedes SUV, he appears to be holding what appears to be the victim's clothing in his arms. 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 19 seconds. Evans then enters into the doorway of the driver's side rear passenger door of the Mercedes SUV, where victim 1 was placed. 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 30 seconds. Evans then runs to the passenger side rear door of the vehicle. 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 39 seconds. Evans then runs to rear of the Mercedes SUV. 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 43 seconds. Finally, Evans runs to the passenger side rear door and enters the Mercedes SUV before it drives off. That's only a quarter of this 60-page paperwork. Like, comment, subscribe for part 2. Follow my Instagram too.